I think for the first 47 years of my life, I was a explorer, adventurer across the Atlantic by balloon, crashed halfway down the Mackenzie to the Arctic Ocean, all kind of weird things, traveling in balloons, drinking all the time, smoking 40 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
Discoing till 4 o'clock in the morning. And suddenly it all came to an end when I had a swelling in my neck right here. And I went to the doctors and he said he has to do a biopsy to see if it was cancerous. When they cut me open, they cut me from the top of my head down to here and sewed me up very quickly because they found that I had a giant tumor wrapped around my carotid artery and jugular vein.
Wow.
And also I had cancer of the tongue and the jawbone and the tonsils, all through here. He said that it was impossible to operate on right then, that if I underwent about 70 shots of cobalt radiation, maybe it would reduce the swelling and then they could operate. They could cut out this tumor, take the carotid artery and jugular vein, take something out of my leg, put it in there.
Goodness.
Anyway, I went through 5 weeks of this cobalt radiation. I went from 240 pounds down to 150 pounds.
Oh my God.
I had no hair. I couldn't make saliva. My face on this side was burned black.
Black?
Black, yes. I had a pipe, a little motor and a pipe going into my mouth to give me saliva.
Oh.
And it was running on batteries, circulating. Then he said to me, "I'm sorry, it didn't work. There's nothing we can do for you. If you want to come back into the hospital in a week's time, we will completely remove your tongue, your whole jawbone, your voice box." And I said, "Will I live any longer if you do that?" And he said, "No, but you will have an easier death."
Huh.
And I said, "Look, I'm an actor. How will I look without a jawbone and everything?" He said, "No one will see you anyway."
Oh my
And I said no to the operation, of course.
Thank God.
Yeah, I had 5 little kids and a wife and hardly any money.
Where were you living at the time?
In Canada.
Uh-huh.
I just looked at my 5 little kids. I couldn't leave them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I climbed into bed. In the back of my mind, I was going to die, you know. And
What did that feel like?
I was scared to death.
Yeah.
A lot of people compare me to John Wayne all over the world. Nothing could be further from the truth. John Wayne was brave and all this stuff, and he underwent tremendous surgery. In my case, I was terrified. I was even taking Valium so I would be able to keep on going.
Sure.
And I started reading all the religious books. I read the Bible, and it mentions 27 times in the Bible to use herbs for medicine.
Right.
I was astounded.
Right. Who knows that, right?
Yeah,
In the Bible mentions using herbs.
We get married in the church, everything. They don't tell us anything about this.
Right.
And then I read where Buddha told the Indian people 2,500 years ago to use herbaline for their tumors. That's a herb that grows in India.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know they had cancer in those days.
Right.
2,500 years ago.
They did?
They did, yes. And so I remembered also that when we were making movies in old Tucson with Audie Murphy and Patricia Crowley and so on, the B Westerns, we used to hire Indians and Mexicans to attack the wagon trains. You know, they'd circle around and shoot us. We'd always win.
Right.
Audie Murphy and I.
You performed with Audie Murphy?
Yes.
I
yes,
loved him.
Yeah. And Jay Silverheels and Tonto.
Oh, the Tonto, right?
But when the guy would call for a coffee break on the desert, all the sophisticated white people would get to one side. We'd eat jelly donuts, coffee, smoke cigars.
They still do.
Yes, yes. The Indians and the Mexicans would get to one side. They'd cut down a cactus called chaparral, make a tea of it. And I remember laying in bed thinking all those years ago what that Indian told me when I said to him, "Why on earth do you drink such putrid stuff when you can come over and have coffee?" And he said, "Because we purify our blood. They've done it for 10,000 years.
Wow.
And they're not about to stop." So with bandages around my neck and special permission from Singapore Airlines to get on their plane because they thought I was going to die
Right.
on the plane, we went in search of the herbaline that Buddha spoke about. We've been assured it was the most powerful herb in the world. We went to Singapore, the only place we could locate it. Found a woman on Water Street that gave me a great big bottle of the stuff for $127. Guaranteed me it would work, and my heart was singing. I went back to the Mandarin Hotel, started making a tea of this stuff all the time. In a week, I was worse than before. I went back to see her. She turned her back on me and said, well, it usually works. It didn't in your case.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
I don't know why. I gave her another $127 or $125 for another bottle of this stuff. We got on a plane and we went to Tucson, Arizona, where the Indians use this chaparral and sage. Checked into the Santa Rita Hotel. I had to get special permission from all the airlines because I looked so bad. Checked into the Santa Rita Hotel and started making then 2 lots of tea, the chaparral and sage tea that the Indians use, and then the herbaline. And the manager of this deluxe hotel, 4-star hotel, came up and said, what the heck are you doing? You're smelling up the whole
Oh, my goodness.
hotel. It smelled awful, you know.
Right.
But he didn't throw me out because I looked so bad.
Yeah.
And
Had some compassion for you.
yeah, and a doctor came to me and said if he was in my condition, he would go back to England. He was English. He said in England they're more open to alternative therapies. And if you're going to die, it's good to go home to die. So we got on a plane. I owed American Express, my God, $20,000. And yet they still accepted my card.
Oh, that's
this was first
That's a miracle in itself.
Yeah,
That's the
I'd
first
say.
miracle, right?
And I got the economy tickets. We went back to England, expecting to die. Checked into this hotel, and I called the Archbishop of Canterbury. And our Archbishop of Canterbury is like the Pope. No one gets to talk to him hardly.
Wow.
But he answered the phone.
Oh.
Second miracle for me.
Right.
And I said to him, what herb is it you think that is mentioned in the Bible so many times for blood purification? The life is in the blood of Christ, purify your blood, all things fall away. 27 times. He said he will have to check on it and let me know. And I said, please don't take too long. So the next day he called me back and said it was red clover. Now I was making 3 lots of tea. Mm-hmm. I'm getting to the end of this, I promise.
This is great, though.
I was making 3 lots of tea, and it smelled awful and it wasn't working. But one morning...
It was bitter, too, right?
Yes, very bitter.
Yes.
And one morning at 5 to 10, it was a Wednesday morning, I was lying on the kitchen floor, too weak to make a pot of herbaline tea and then chaparral tea and red clover. I thought, to heck with it, I'm going to die, I will mix them together. And so I did. I mixed them together, and with the first sip, something strange happened to me.
Wow.
I could kind of remember the taste, even though it was impossible. Strength filled my body. I didn't have any thoughts of death, and I drank a gallon of the stuff that day. And when my kids, Raymond and Robin, came back to the hotel with the nurse, they cried because they could see something had happened.
Oh, my goodness.
I drank this for 9 weeks, and at the end of 9 weeks, the cancer clinic could not find one thing wrong with me.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You mean pain left your body, too?
Everything.
In 9 weeks?
Yes, in 9 weeks' time.
Red clover?
It was red clover, herbaline, and chaparral. 3 herbs, strangely enough, mentioned by 3 prophets from 3 different continents. And Dr. Ian Pierce called me, England's top oncologist, and he said, I've read about you in the paper, your recovery. Can I come and examine you? I said, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He came and examined me, took blood tests and so on, and he said, it's unbelievable. Can I have some of the tea? We need to analyze it. And he took it all mixed together as I was drinking it. In a few days' time, he called me and said, I'm terribly sorry to tell you this, Jason, but this didn't cure any illness at all. It's, all it did is purify your blood to such an extent your natural immunity healed your body. He said, God did not throw us down here and say, here's 10,000 fast food restaurants, there's pollution in the air, pollution in the water, have a good time. He gave us something in our body to heal ourselves called the immune system. And in biblical times, any one of those herbs would and did work in different continents to purify the blood so the body healed itself. Nowadays, our blood is so toxic that it took the combined efforts of the three herbs mixed together to purify your blood, and your body healed itself. But one thing, and this is the end of the story here.
Oh, it's wonderful.
One thing, he said, an amazing thing, Buddha told the Indian people 2,500 years ago to use herbaline, a special herb. When we analyzed it in the laboratory, we found that herbaline is a catalyst, and it made the other two 27 times stronger. That's why this worked for you. Every day on radio and TV, I say, terminal cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I could see that. It
Yeah.
changed your life and all those miracles and all these people you're affecting.
Yes, it's marvelous, you know.
Now, you've been to various countries and you wrote a book, The Jason Winters Story.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah, yes.
Now, in this book, is this the book that it's in 13 languages, or is that another book?
Yeah,
you did?
it's in 9 languages, actually.
9 languages?
They called it Killing Cancer, and when it was published in China, it sold 6 million copies immediately.
So this is the book here, eh? Can you see that?
Yes, that's it. Can you imagine, in the Chinese language, it's sold all those millions of copies, and in Malaysian.
This is incredible. Now, also, in the United States, we haven't heard many of this story. How come?
I don't know. You know, I'm working with Prince Charles on the Federation of Integrative Medicine, and I've been to Washington a few times. We've even got an award from the American Congress.
Really?
We're the only company in the alternative health field to do this. But the public needs to be aware of it. The book has sold 13 million copies. There are a lot of people out there that are our friends, and they are helping us. And why are they helping us, and why governments are helping us, is because we work with governments, doctors, FDA. We don't attack anyone. There's no hatred in us. In many alternative therapies, they have great animosity towards doctors, hospitals. My God, if it wasn't for the FDA, we'd probably all be dead now.
Wow.
So we work with them, and Prince Charles and Clinton and all these people help us because of that.
I understand you had some sort of message from President Clinton.
Yes, yes, he thanked us very much for the work we were doing, and we received the Congressional Award for having 1 million customers in Asia that are creating jobs for Americans here, of course, you know.
That's incredible. Now, what is that special story with Prince Charles? What happened with him exactly?
When I was, after I spoke to the Archbishop of Canterbury, I went to the King's College Hospital for a 10th opinion, and they looked at me and said there was no hope. This is before I mixed the teas together, and Prince Charles came up to me. He was visiting someone else in the hospital. He looked at my chart and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Don't worry, Mr. Winters, only God can tell you when you're going to die." And that had a great effect on me, and so I wrote to him back and forth, and as you can see in one of these letters, he is most surprised and delighted that I'm still alive after 19 years without any illness whatsoever.
When you went around to these other countries, I understand that you came in contact with royalty, you came in contact with the government officials, and you actually were bestowed, awarded, honored. You're a knight, am I right, Sir Jason?
Yes.
And you have medals, a few medals here. Could we? I think we have a few pictures of those medals. Yes. And this here, huh? What is this, Sir Jason?
That's the Knight of Malta. I had a few doctors come to visit me, and they wanted to know if this tea had worked for anyone else. And we have thousands and thousands of letters from people that have benefited. So they flew me to Malta, and I was knighted and given a government grant to look for other herbs and so on. You know, 150 of the top prescription medicines in America come from herbs. Do you know that the U.S. Surgeon General, C. Everett Koop, came out with a special paper a few years ago saying that antioxidants are the greatest thing in the world to fight all disease. They go into the body and they chase down free radicals. Isn't it funny that the top scientists have found out that the combination of the tea that Jesus spoke about, Buddha, and the Indians and Mexicans are the best antioxidants. Mixed together, they are 27 times stronger. What a surprise to me to think that I had accidentally mixed together three of the most powerful antioxidants in the world, exactly the same antioxidants that everyone is saying, no, you must take. Okay. Prince Charles asked me, be a peacemaker, go into the world and love everyone and get everyone to work together.
He said that to you?
He said it to me, and he has worked for 9 years in England, untiringly, and only recently has he got a bill through Parliament that homeopathy and osteopathy is acceptable in hospitals now, paid for by the government and so on. And we're trying to do the same thing in the Philippines, Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. We've got an award from the Japanese government. We're doing it there.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Where are you going from here?
Back to Las Vegas, and then I'm going to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia to give some lectures, and then Singapore, and then